One of the newest 49ers and definitely the biggest personality of this 2025 draft class, Upton Stout, went to college here at Western Kentucky. I'm on location where I got a chance to talk to the Hilltoppers head coach, Tyson Helton, about Upton Stout's 3-year college career. I put on the tape of Upton, and first 2 plays are him just barreling into the backfield. I know he's a great cover guy. I think his first game here at Western Kentucky there was a pick 6. Yeah. And obviously the 49ers like that, but at 5'8", 180, he highlights his physicality on his tape. And it's almost like he's playing as a glorified linebacker, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Is that what he's about, that physical play?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably his best skill trait is his physicality. You know, I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He shows up to the park mad, which is good, you know, because we're in a confrontational sport. And, you know, he has a pro mentality about him. You know, his work ethic, his day-to-day routine, you know, and I think he gets the fact when I say chip on the shoulder, hey, I'm 5'8", 180, but I'm going to show the world that I can ball out. And so, you know, you see that in his play every single down, basically. But probably his best skill trait is you know, his aggressiveness and being able to blitz him. And there's a skill to that too. There's a talent to that piece. His timing is really good. You know, we do a really good job here offensively of trying to train our quarterbacks and making the defense use their indicators, make them show. You know, and so we're gonna try to get that quarterback to make the coverage show what they're going to do or what's the pressure going to be. On the flip side of that, Upton, you know, he spends a lot of time on his craft playing that game and trying not to give those keys away. Mm-hmm. And so there is a talent in that with his blitz ability. And he's a thick body. You know, he's not a tall body, but he's a thick guy, big shoulders. Can run through people, and he has no fear. So that skill is really, really good, especially with what he's going to be doing in San Francisco.
And there's instincts, and there's also the testament to hard work, right? The film preparation.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a couple, not necessarily blitzes, but he sniffs out screens that I've seen on tape.
Yep.
And it seems that, you know, you talk to any NFL coach, that's what's going to make a difference because everybody's fast, everybody's strong at that level. Yeah. It seems that he might have that extra edge from the preparation standpoint.
You know, there's 2 things. One, the ball finds him. You know, what do I mean by that? That means, you know, it's thrown to him. You know, but there's a talent in that. He drops into areas and has a knack for where that ball might be headed. He can judge it like a receiver. And he has great ball skills, so then he can go do something with it when he intercepts it. But you're talking about a guy that spends a tremendous amount of time honing his craft. I mean, the guy sits on the front row every meeting that I ever had here. He has missile lock on you at all times. His eyes never leave you. You can tell the man is a sponge. You know, he is trying to absorb and gain knowledge every time he's sitting in any meeting. I see the guy constantly in the world of technology. You know, everybody can say, yeah, I sat at my house and, you know, I watched game film and all that. He's kind of an old school guy. He wants to be up here like the coaches and be in this arena constantly and be in the film room watching film and being able to walk down the hall and share ideas with coaches. And he just treats it like a pro, you know, and he's a guy that he's going to come in and he's going to put in a full day's work. And, you know, I think he understands he has to do that. You know, he takes tremendous pride in the fact that, yeah, I have a lot of talent. Yes, I am a good player, but I'm constantly trying to show the world that I'm trying to be the best in the business too. So excited for him to see where that goes with San Francisco.
Did you see the video of the call that he got from the 49ers?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. That's typical. That's up to a T.
I mean, that was the best one that I had ever heard. I talked to John Lynch. It was the best one he said he had ever done. Yeah. The energy, I think, let's do it. I mean, he was just going wild on the call. And then he just talks a million miles a minute. And one of the reporters joked, do you play as fast as you talk? And he just started laughing, and he's like, yeah, I was just really excited. But my question was going to be, and you partly answered it here, is that the Upton that you saw personality-wise?
Yeah, Upton is, he is a guy that is always going to express how he feels. And I thought our staff did a great job in really training Upton in, how to approach the game, how to approach your day-to-day, how to channel your feelings and utilize them the correct way. When Upton first got here, he had transferred from North Texas, had played some, but you could feel like he was disgruntled and really wanted to be that guy, be the starter. And there was some trust factors early on. He didn't trust people, and it was a scenario where you had to earn his trust. But you do that with relationships, right? And you do that by really pouring into an individual and showing them that you have their best interests at heart. You do want to be the part of the process of making him the best player that he could be. And then once Upton saw that here, man, he just opened up, and you saw his true personality, right? And what you saw in film is how Upton is. He's going to let you know how he feels. He's definitely gonna talk. He's going to let you know like what he wants to do and what's going to happen, but he also backs it up. And he's a guy that I've always enjoyed having conversations with because, he's someone, again, that seeks knowledge. I want to know how my players feel. I want the player to express, hey, coach, why this or why that, or give me the reason behind why we're doing this, or how can I be utilized in this certain way, right? So I like that when players do that, and Upton is definitely that guy. I think the coaching staff there will have a guy that, they can have good, positive back and forth conversations with. Upton will have to earn their trust, right? Mm-hmm. You're a rookie. You're just trying to survive. You're trying to make it 24 more hours every single day, right? So, but I think he'll gain that trust, and then once that happens, he'll be a guy that constantly they can have some back and forth with, and that's what you want out of really good players. That's what you want out of your best players. To be honest with you.
Yeah, at the pro level especially. Yeah. That would really hone in on some nuanced advantages there. You talked about the trust that he developed with the staff and with the program here. Obviously, that was developed, I think, to a great extent based on the fact that everybody seems to want to transfer these days because it's just the way that college football works. It seemed that he had a very good opportunity to transfer to Michigan, but he decided to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't know what exactly went behind that decision, but obviously there was a lot of loyalty to what was built here. And I'm sure from the staff and from the program standpoint that was a really commendable decision on his part.
Yeah, I think, Upton is a real guy. He's a very smart person. And some of your best, let's just say some of your best business people, they can almost tell the future. They have a vision for what they're trying to accomplish, and they know how to accomplish it. And, here we're a great platform for guys to move to the next level. And you got to look at the size of the pond that you're in, right? We're a medium-sized pond, Mm-hmm. Now, we're a part of the national conversation in some form or fashion. We're a recognizable brand. We're known for certain things. But what we're recently most known for is, hey, we've had 4 straight years of a top third-round draft pick. If you look at all the group of 5 schools out there, there's not really anybody that can say that, okay? So every player, there's history before Upton, right? There had been some men before Upton that were in his situation. They had opportunities to leave for big money in college football today. I mean, there's life-changing money out there that he could have taken. And we are not the payday here. I mean, we have NIL and all those things, but we're not at the level of a Michigan, of a USC, of a Texas, right? Mm-hmm. So Upton, though, is smart enough to play the long game. He knew what his value was. He knew, yes, I could go to one of those major Power 4 schools, get a really good payday, But there's no guarantee, am I going to be that guy? Am I going to be able to perform on a platform that gives me the best chance to be the highest draftable guy, right? Smart decision by him. One, there was a trust factor there with our staff. There was a lot of conversations, you know. There was some flexibility on our part, you know, because Upton actually got in the portal, you know, and, you know, he went and visited with some folks. But at the end of the day, we all circled back, sat down, and he said, Coach, this is the best place for me. This is the best platform for me to accomplish my main goal. And I said, what is that goal, Upton? He said, I just don't want to be an NFL guy. I want to be one of a first 3-round guy. And I said, you can accomplish that, Upton, here. It's been done here. We have history of doing that here. He believed in that, in the blueprint that we had in place for him for this last season, and he went out there and accomplished it. So really it goes back to the trust factor and relationship piece more than anything. And your smart football players that you see today that end up being the Upton Stouts, that are the good stories, the high draft pick guys that, hey, they came out of a Western Kentucky and those kind of things, you know, they're the guys that keep the main thing, and they love ball. And it's about, hey, I want to be a pro, and I want to play at the highest level. And to do that, I got to be on a platform where my abilities can be showcased at the highest level. And that may not be the major Power Four. It may be a really great brand out of Western Kentucky that is a part of the national conversation, but I get to be the guy in a medium-sized pond. Or at a major Power Four, I'm a guy, I'm a good player, people know my name, but my reps probably are cut in half. You know, I'm a rotational player. I'm a third down nickel. You know, I'm a corner in a dime personnel. Here at Western Kentucky, you are the guy, and you're being utilized in those ways. So that was smart by Upton.
And it's not like he didn't have a chance to put on tape at the highest of levels. That the Alabama tape is impressive from him. How important is that, do you think, from a professional evaluation standpoint? He's going to get these games at Western Kentucky against the top of the top. How important was it for him to show out in those games in particular?
It's critical. You know, we all, when you're going to make a significant investment in anything, you need some evidence there, some historical data that shows you, hey, this person is going to be able to provide for us what we're trying to get out of them, right? So anytime you play in Alabama and you play as well as he did, there is your video evidence, right? So, and don't think we didn't have those conversations and how important it was that Upton, hey, you need to perform in the big games. And every game's important, but you know, there's always going to be that film that somebody's going to pull back on, right? And they're going to say, hey, pull up the Alabama game for me. And you're going to get about 10 snaps of an evaluation. Now, people, you know, the staff will watch the whole game and all that, but decision makers will have knowledge, and people will be talking to them, and then they'll go, hey, I want to see these 10 snaps in the game, right? You better be performing, and you better be performing at a high level, and he did. And so that really helped his cause for sure.
So when you look at the measurables, the one thing that really stands out are the 21 bench reps. Most of any DB at the Combine. So it's one of the first things that we asked him about in Santa Clara last week, and he mentioned that he did some lifting with the linemen here. I know you might not be in the weight room as much as some of the strength coaches, but I'm sure that word gets around. What was his workout routine like, you know, just as far as reputation? Because if the guy is putting up 21 reps at 180, that's obviously something you pay attention to.
Yeah, well, it goes back to work ethic first and foremost, but we do have an exceptional training staff. We do have guys that have, you know, trained at a high level, you know, and again, part of the reason why Upton stayed was the investment with the strength coach, Coach Tyson, who I feel played as just as strong a role as anybody in Upton's success. One, they had a good relationship. Two, Upton trusted that he was going to be able to train him to get, you know, to peak performance. But Upton has a tremendous work ethic, and he loves more than anything to to, like you said, hey, I'm going to go do what the linemen can do at times. Not all linemen, but some linemen. But his work ethic more than anything, and the fact that he trusts our staff really helped in that cause.
First game, pick six. So that was right after he had transferred from North Texas. If I remember correctly from watching on tape, it was the shotgun snap, throw out to the far side, and it looked like he had been part of the system for a while. It looked like he knew exactly what was coming. It was a testament to film study. Can you take me back to that moment? And I'm sure you already knew that you had a talented player, but when a guy shows up and delivers like that in his very first game as a coach, is that a sign that you might have somebody special?
Not only that, I said, hey, we may need to put this guy on offense a little bit. He's a pretty good ball guy. But again, he has a knack for the ball finds him, number one. Number two, he has a knack for understanding what his role is in the defense and what's going to happen. He understands situational football. You think back to that time, we knew the ball was going to be thrown. He knew the area that it might be thrown in. He knew his role and his fit in that defense, and he knew the ball was probably going to come find him at some point in time in that game based upon what we were trying to do with that game plan. And then to see it happen, after you've prepared to do that, you go, hey, man, that guy's a special player, and we got something really good here. But I've seen it over and over and over again. I've seen him on a corner blitz where he's supposed to be coming from the boundary. All of a sudden, he's got his ears pinned back. He stops, hits the brakes because he goes, I'll be dang, this quarterback's going to hit me in the heart with this dang football. And the quarterback does it, and he picks it and takes it to the house, right? So, that's a ball guy. That's a guy that understands the game. That's a guy that's usually your best players, which he was for us. And
then you translate that to the NFL level at the nickel position, which is where the 49ers are looking at him. At college, it's probably true too, but obviously you're going to know the X's and O's better than me. But the 49ers, they had Deommodore Lenoir playing inside and outside last year. Mm-hmm. It's a Pro Bowl caliber player. They want somebody to focus on the inside because it's so important now. Some of the best receivers, Cooper Kupp in his prime a couple years ago was lined up in the slot 70% of the time. So you've got to have a premier cover guy in there. But then at the same time, and Upton was really proud of this, I asked him about it. He likes to think of himself as a linebacker, mentality-wise, toughness-wise, and that's what you have to do at that nickel spot because your nose is in the fray. So that adaptability that he's going to be asked to show with the 49ers, and they asked their nickel to do a ton, like Lenoir last year. What do you think prepared him for that? Specifically with what you guys were running here at Western Kentucky?
Yeah, so, first of all, our defense is very multiple, number one. Number two, that nickel spot, just like the 49ers, is asked to do a lot. Three, we are exotic pressure defense, particularly in passing downs. And, so he, again, being a very talented player, when you have a guy that can blitz and he's very durable, you have a guy that has great ball skills, great coverage skills, you can do a lot more within the defense, right? So Upton played a huge role in that, so it allowed us to have a lot of different packages, do a lot of different things with him. Whether we're bringing him on a blitz or we're bluffing him, dropping him into coverage, whether we're asking him to match up man on the best receiver. The National Football League, your best skill players are usually your best cover guys. They talk about, marquee receivers, but if you're a great cover guy, that's priceless, know. And, Upton has excellent coverage skills, excellent. So for me, that's where it starts, that you can match him up with a marquee receiver and say, yes, he can play man coverage. So now as for a defensive coordinator, man, that helps you a ton. That helps you a ton. Now it gives you extra hats. You can do some things from a pressure standpoint, all those kind of things. The second thing you can do with Upton, obviously, is his blitzability, his durability, his aggressiveness, his knack to get after the quarterback, right? And I talked about earlier is his timing with the pressures when he is, coming on a blitz. not showing it and giving things away. He does a great job with his eyes. He plays the game. A lot of times coverage player, you have man eyes and zone eyes, right? And a lot of DBs, they can't stand it. They want to peek back there to see at the quarterback. Well, that quarterback's playing that game too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're showing zone eyes or man eyes, he's going to know it. Upton knows that. He's been trained, So he knows how to play the cat and mouse game. And so when you package all that, and he's got special teams value, right? I mean, the guy, so you got a great cover guy, you got a great blitzer, and you got a guy that can be a 4-core special team guy for you. Well, that's invaluable in that league, right? So they can do a lot of things with Upton for sure.
I've theorized too, the knock on him is obviously the size, 5'8", 180. Everybody talks about that. But in a way, I see it as a potential advantage on the inside, especially since he could play as strong as he does because the agility is there. A 6'1", 6'2" corner is not going to be able to play on the inside in the NFL, especially with how adaptable these offenses are. You almost have to fit through smaller windows. And I feel, just watching him, he's been able to leverage the potential strengths of what outsiders might call a weakness in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I think, if you got a guy, sometimes the smaller or shorter guys are harder to see, number one, especially when you're blitzing them, just they get lost in the traffic. Sometimes it's harder for a quarterback to see them, lost in the traffic. There's deficiencies too, right? Obviously a talented big man is better than a talented little man. That's usually going to win, right?
Yep.
So Upton has to bring to the table that chip on his shoulder, right? And I mentioned earlier, hey, you got to show up to the park mad, right? His intensity level has to go above and beyond because he will at times be matched up with a big talented man, right? And so he's got to find a way to win. More often than not, Upton's going to find a way to win. And, I do think there is a skill level there from the ball skill standpoint, and the fact that he could play slot receiver too if he needed to, and he would be a great route runner and all that. Your best man coverage players can run the route for the receiver before they ever break it, right? So Upton has all those abilities to do all those things.
I'm guessing he had an offensive background in high school. He probably played both ways, and the best guys in the NFL, I'm sure their high school teams couldn't take them off the field, but I'm sure he was able to translate some of what he knew about offense to anticipating what offensive guys are doing now.
Yeah, he jumped in with some route running stuff here. We should have utilized him probably more offensively. We didn't, just because we've had some really good skill guys here that commanded the ball being thrown to him. But Upton's been a returner here. He's done some punt returning, all those things. So he's just an overall good ball player, can do a lot of different things.
You mentioned the trust early on. What exactly went into building trust with him after he transferred from North Texas?
Well, I think, not that he had a bad experience in North Texas. I think like 50% of your players that enter the portal, they're really good players that somebody's trying to come get, and they know why they're leaving, right? And the other 50% are looking for opportunities, better opportunities than what they had. I think, that was Upton's case. He played there and all those things, but he's looking for better opportunities. He knew the type of player that he was, and he was trying to find a place that could match that. When you got Upton, because of prior experiences, there was that lack of trust. Hey, this coach is telling me something. I haven't really experienced that. Sometimes people say this and they follow through with that, right? And here at Western Kentucky, we do what we say. We run a very good organization. We're very professional. Our guys are very well trained. They're taken care of. And in any high-level organization, there is a trust factor, and it starts with relationships and building relationships. My job as a head football coach is to make sure everybody's the best version of themselves. And I start immediately when they get here. When we onboard them, You know, we spend a lot of one-on-one time with them. I do as well. I take my team leaders on the team and make sure that those guys are showing the new person what our culture is like, right? I identified Upton right away as a guy that we were going to need to spend some time with. We were going to have to develop that relationship to get the trust factor. I loved everything about his story, though, and the type of person he was, and the fact that you had to earn his trust. I'm the same way. I'm not just going to sit here and say, oh, I met you and I trust everything that comes out of your mouth. That has to be earned. So Upton was that way too, and he's clear about that. You know, and I like that. You get to have grown man conversations with him. You understand he's not an immature guy when it comes to the business side of football. And so just over time, you know, we developed that trust and that relationship. And, you know, I played a role in that, but there's a lot of other people. I've mentioned Jason Velkamp, the strength coach, played a huge role in that. His position coaches, you know, Devon Brown, who's now our co-defensive coordinator, played a huge role in that. Tyson Summers, the defensive coordinator, he's now with Colorado State. He played a huge role in that. So it's a combination of a lot of things being poured into Upton, but we knew what we were getting, and it was our job to make sure that we got the best version out of him.
Yeah, he mentioned several coaches when I asked him last week, which I knew that's healthy organizational structure where he's got multiple people working to help make him the best player possible. Over your years with him, we know about the bench press reps. We know about him lifting with linemen. I've seen some of the tape, but you were at all the practices. What's the most impressive thing that you saw Upton Stout do on a football field?
I tell you, the man never stops. He wants every rep. He is a coach on the field. Now, he's in a little different role now. He's the rookie there. He's trying to earn his way. But Upton is a guy that if he's not taking a rep, he is watching every snap, and he's having conversations with the men that took those reps. And that's impressive to see. He's not a guy that is going to sit here and say, hey, I took my reps and I did my job, and you know, now I'm going to go take a knee and have a conversation. He is locked in at all times. And so that piece of it was huge. The guy ran thousands of yards every practice. I literally would have to tell our training staff, because you know you have the catapults and you're tracking and
GPS.
GPS trackers, and I'm saying, guys, he's way. I mean, we're not halfway through the practice. I'm like, he's way at his max. Like, we need to shut him down.
Was he number one on the team?
Every day.
Really?
Every day.
Yeah.
Because he was doing something pre-practice. He was, took a ton of reps in practice. He was a guy that loved to play special teams. You know, we used him limitedly on special teams because he became so valuable. But he knew too, hey, in the National Football League, you better have special teams value if you want to be there long. So he was constantly sharpening the knife in that area, and so those yardages added up really fast. And every day he's the top guy.
So it seems like we talk about his strength, but it seems like the mentality led to endurance. Like, this was an Ironman out there for you.
Yeah, and he's had his bumps and bruises along the way. And you talk about being able to sustain. You know, that's a grown man league up there, and it's a violent game up there, and the best of the best play up there. And Upton was one of the best in college. And every player is going to have a bump or bruise or some kind of injury, and how do you respond to that? He had a shoulder deal that should have kept him out probably. You know, this was 2 years ago. Should have kept him out for the second half of the football season. Man was back in 3 weeks. You know, I mean, he's in the training room at 6 a.m. getting on the training staff going, hey, I'm here at 6 a.m. I expect y'all to do this, and this, and I'm going to be back here 3 more times today, and I expect y'all to do this, and this. And so when I talk about pro mentality, that's what you got to do.
Did you get a chance to get to know his family?
A little bit, yeah. I met his dad a couple times. Upton is very reserved when it comes to his family. I'm different as a head coach too. You know, I don't get real close to families. I hug necks and I say hey and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I keep the business side of it. I keep the relationship piece with the players at a high level. And when parents come in and all that, I tell them on a personal side, you will always know what's going on with your son. You can always call me and all those things. But I'm not talking ball with you. That's between me and your son or nephew or grandson. So I've established that, and I think in today's football world, especially now with how we are, you know, with NIL and all those things, it's become more of a business, which is unfortunate. But going back to Upton was sent that way too, though. You know, Upton was more conservative about family relationships and, hey, this is my job. This is not about my family. This is about me, right? And so, you know, he kind of kept those two worlds separate.
And finally, you know, this is one I like to ask every coach that had a player drafted, and especially in this case where it seems we talked about that trust that was built, and Upton gave so much to this program gave so much to Upton. What was the first conversation with him like after he was drafted by the 49ers?
Well, obviously he was excited. You know, I know he probably bought out every 49er hat he could find because he had all his family there. I think he really, you know, I could tell for him he was excited about the particular organization he went to with the 49ers and how good a fit he thought that would be, you know, for him. And again, he's always a forward thinker, and so you could just see the excitement in his voice and talking about. He's very grateful, you know, very, you know, even before he was drafted, I mean, he would constantly say, "Coach, best decision I ever made. Best decision I ever made to be a Hilltopper," you know. So he's just a guy that's appreciative. He values what he has. He values people, and you know, so we're excited for his future there.
So as you can tell, Upton Stout was a big part of the Western Kentucky program over the past 3 years. Did a lot of good stuff on the field right behind me, Helton Smith Stadium. And really neat history here at Western Kentucky. They have seen quite a bit of success under Tyson Helton over the past few years. He was hired in 2021. But if you go back a couple decades, the coach of Western Kentucky was actually Jim Harbaugh's dad. Jack Harbaugh won a Division I AA national championship with Western Kentucky back in 2002. And as you'd expect from a Harbaugh, he operated a very powerful run game. Throughout the entire 1990s, Western Kentucky was a top 10 running team in the country. And obviously we've seen Jim Harbaugh do the same at San Diego, at Stanford, with the 49ers, at Michigan, and now he's establishing a strong run game in LA with the Chargers. Now Western Kentucky is in its modern era, and it happens to be a place that develops quite a bit of NFL talent. One of those players is Upton Stout, new 49ers DB, energetic 49ers DB, who of course had one of the best, if not the best, reactions to being drafted on the call with Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and 49ers owner Jed York.
Upton, it's John Lynch from the Niners, man. How you doing?
Man, let's do it,
Let's
Coach.
do it. I didn't even have to ask you. I tell you.
Let's do it, Coach.
We're ready to do it, man.
Let's do it, Coach. Come on, Coach.
I love it.
Let's do it.
I love it. I'm going to put you on with Coach. Here's
Come
Coach
on,
Shanahan,
Coach.
man.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it, Coach. I'm telling you,
Upton,
let's
what's up,
do it,
man?
Coach. You
You
don't know
ready?
what you just got, Coach. You just got a dog.
Oh, we know that, man. All we got to do is see this tape. We know we got a dog,
You just
man.
got a dog, Coach. I promise you just got a dog, Coach.
Dude, that fires me up, man. We've been waiting all
Man,
day.
let's
and
do
we
it,
feel
Coach.
fortunate to
That's what
get you,
I wanna
man.
be, Coach. Come on.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about, man. Congratulations. Enjoy this night, man. We
Thank you,
can't wait to
Coach.
get you out here,
Yes,
dude.
sir.
You just fired me up
Appreciate
even more, man.
you. Come on, Coach.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
man. Here's our owner, Jed
Come
York,
on.
dude. Congrats, man.
Yes, sir.
Upton, congratulations, man.
Man, appreciate it, Coach. Thank God. Appreciate you, Coach.
We know we got a dog. We're ready to
Come
see
on,
you,
now.
man.
You know it, Coach. You know you got a dog. You got the best DBs.
I know. We got it, man. We're fired up. Everybody in here's fired up. Can't wait to get you out here soon, man.
Let's do it on three. 1, 2, 3.
Let's do it. All right. We'll have the coaches call you later on, Upton. You have fun tonight with your family.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.